The Wonderful Adventures of NILS.
NILS was a naughty boy. He lived with his mom and dad in a beautiful town in Sweden. NILS was always a troublemaker. He was especially cruel to animals. One day, while dozing off at home, NILS heard a voice.
Ouch!
A dwarf shouted.
"What a funny-looking dwarf,"
says NILS. NILS tried to catch the dwarf with a net.
You will pay for this,
shouted the dwarf. The dwarf cast a spell over NILS. Suddenly, NILS became as tiny as a spoon.
"Help! Help!"
cried NILS. But no animal felt sorry for NILS. Instead, they were happy to see NILS punished because NILS treated them badly all the time. Only a white goose named Morten felt sorry for NILS, and they decided to begin their adventures. They met a flock of crows. The crows took NILS away from Morten and then dropped NILS on the grass. A fox appeared and was happy to see its delicious lunch.
"Help! Help! Where are you, Morten?"
cried NILS. Morten flew towards NILS and carried him away.
"Morten, I'm so glad to see you,"
says NILS.
"Me too. Let's go home now,"
said Morten. The cat was nervous to see Morten come home. "Morten, run away! NILS' parents are going to have roast goose for dinner tonight," said the cat. But it's too late. NILS' parents were ready to catch the white goose. As they were approaching Morten, NILS shouted,
"Please don't kill Morten. He is my friend."
At that moment, NILS turned into his original size. NILS' parents were so excited to see their lost child. All they wanted was to hug NILS tightly. From then on, NILS was not a troublemaker anymore, and he became good friends with animals.
The Goblins Turn to Stone. Once upon a time, Holland had many goblins. Goblins had big heads and green eyes. They were short and ugly, but smart. They could go through a crack in the wall. They could also turn themselves invisible by putting on their red cap. However, goblins couldn't come out during the day because they would be turned to stone. They had to stay underground. When the night came, goblins liked to play tricks on people. One night, a goblin came to an old lady's room. He wanted to frighten the old lady, so he took off his red cap and made himself visible. The old lady was frightened when she saw the ugly goblin. She threw one of her clogs at the goblin. As the goblin was trying to get out through the crack, the old lady's daughter, Alida, snatched his red cap away. At that moment, a bright idea popped into Alida's head. Alida left a note for the goblin.
"Please bring all of your fellows to the Great Moor if you want your red cap back."
The next night, Alida gathered many people on the Great Moor. As she was putting the red cap on the bush, Alida shouted to them,
"Put your hands in the air and start grabbing and snatching."
In a few minutes, Lots of red caps were in people's hands, and many goblins became visible. People ran after the goblins the whole night. Finally, the sun rose. The goblins were all turned to stone. These stones are still lying on the moor to this day. Egyptian Cindrella. Rhodopis was a girl from Greece. She was sold to Egypt and became a slave. Rhodopis had pale skin, green eyes, and golden curly hair. Because she looked very different, other Egyptian slave girls disliked her. They often made fun of Rhodopis. Only the master liked her. He gave Rhodopis a pair of rose-red sandals. It made other slave girls jealous. They asked Rhodopis to do extra chores. One day, the pharaoh decided to host a party and invite all the people in Egypt. But the slave girls didn't want Rhodopis to join the party. They asked Rhodopis to stay and wash all the clothes. Rhodopis was sad while washing the clothes in the Nile. Suddenly, the sky turned dark, and an eagle appeared. It snatched one of Rhodopis's sandals and flew away. The eagle dropped Rhodopis's sandal in the pharaoh's lap. The pharaoh was surprised and believed it was a sign from the god Horus. He made up his mind to find the owner of the sandal. The next morning, the pharaoh made an announcement. All girls in Egypt must try on this sandal. The owner of the sandal would be his queen. All Egyptian girls came to try it on, but no one succeeded. Finally, it was Rhodopis's turn. She slid her foot into the sandal and pulled the other from her pocket. The pharaoh was very excited. "I finally found you, my dear queen," he said. However, one of the slave girls was angry.
Rhodopis is not even Egyptian. How could she become an Egyptian queen? She asked.
The pharaoh responded, "Rhodopis has eyes as green as the Nile River, hair as feathery as papyrus, and skin as pale as the lotus. She is the most Egyptian of all." The Legend of the Blue Mountains. A long time ago, there was a witch doctor, Tiawan. He lived with his 3 daughters in the Blue Mountains. Every morning, he said goodbye to his daughters and went to work. One day, a centipede appeared in front of their house. The 3 sisters were very shocked. In order to drive away the centipede, they pushed a large rock toward the centipede. But it rolled over the edge of the mountain and made a loud noise. The noise woke up a monster. The monster was very angry and walked toward the 3 sisters. He wanted to eat them.
Help! Help! Help!
Cried the 3 sisters. On his way to work, Tiawan heard his daughters cry. He immediately ran back to their home. To protect his daughters, he used his magic wand and turned them into rocks.
"How dare you play a trick on me?"
shouted the monster. The monster began to chase Tiawan. After a while, Tiawan found himself arriving at a cliff. There was no way forward. So he turned himself into a lyrebird and flew away. The monster angrily returned to his cave. Everyone was safe, but Tiawan lost his magic wand. Today, Tiawan is still in the valley looking for his magic wand. The three sisters are still waiting in the Blue Mountains for their father to turn them back into humans. The naming of Singapore.
Once upon a time, there was a prince named Parameswara. He and his servants sailed on the sea for a few days.
Look at the island. It's so beautiful. It has white beaches, green jungles, and colorful crabs,
shouted Parameswara. The king of the island was very friendly, so the islanders all lived a happy and peaceful life. The king especially liked to make friends. He was very kind to Parameswara and his servants.
Welcome to our country, my dear friends,
said the king. But Prince Parameswara had an evil plan. He wanted to become the new king of this beautiful island. That night, Prince Parameswara kidnapped the king and his servants. They put them on a boat and pushed it out to sea. The next day, Prince Parameswara announced he was the new king. He asked his servants to make a lion throne for his new palace. He called the island Singapore, the Lion City. Parameswara was not a Parameswara was not a friendly king. He didn't know how to protect his island. As a result, more and more pirates began to attack the island. Many islanders decided to move away. Even Parameswara ran away like a coward. After Singapore was empty for a few years, some people began to move back with their family and new friends. They once again started a happy and peaceful life on the island. That's how the modern country of Singapore got its name.